What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I've been meaning to cover this for the past few days, and just getting together all of the pieces of this puzzle took a little while, and one angry gamer beat it. Beat me to it. And so I want to cover an article that came out on an irrelevant website that led to Chris Avellone being ridiculed by people who want to see agenda on everything and either willfully don't understand real gamers' positions or they are lying. So this article reads that Chris Avellone ridiculed for not wanting games to be used as propaganda. It comes from an excerpt that he graciously provided a deadbeat games writer to talk about whether or not games should have a type of agenda or not. And so his original answer was, they may become political as societal norms change, but I believe it's possible to do apolitical games. I don't condone developers who want to do political games or make a statement. I think a game is served better by asking a question, providing a range of perspectives on the question, but then leaving the answer to the player. Yes, exactly. This is one of the things that is willfully misrepresented very, very often from at least my perspective of how others view this idea, and that is that they willfully say, oh, they just don't want diversity in video games. No. That's not it at all. Go ahead, do your thing. Make it organic, make it good. At the end of the day, people just want good games to play. What people have a problem with is the finger wagging, and telling a player what's right or wrong, because that's what they really want. They want to brainwash people with this ideology. If they didn't, then why do they have a problem with people pushing back against it? That's the thing. There are games that, very on the surface have a message, and there are games that don't, that are more subtle. I prefer to play the ones that are more subtle or allow the players to make their own mind up as opposed to telling the players what's right or wrong. I think that's what Avallone's talking about here. I try to frame any politics in the parameters of the world, the lore, and the franchise. Oh my God, really? You mean to make it organic? Imagine that. The reason I take this approach is because I view games as entertainment. If you're purposely pushing an agenda or a point of view in your game, especially the real world one that's clearly divorced from the game world, you are dictating the perspective as correct versus asking a question or examining the perspective more broadly. Then it's left the gaming realm, and the game has become a pulpit. Heck yeah, dude. Right? And some of the games that he's worked on, thanks for sending these over to me, Extreme Machine, Icewind Dale, Planescape, Torment, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Fallout 2, New Vegas. All right, so he's worked on plenty of games. Now, there's been an enormous amount of NPCs that have sent a lot of vile statements towards him, but I want to highlight Sam Barlow, for example. He is a video game designer that's worked on games like Silent Hill, Shattered Memories, Legacy of Kain, Her Story, Telling Lies, and Ghost Rider. Okay, and he had this to say: apologies, this seems so bleeding obvious. I did it as an image, so it's easier for you all to skip. He says, claiming that stories can avoid politics is the humble brag of privilege, and it urinates on the majority of audience whose lives can't avoid politics. The majority of audiences can't avoid it? Who do you make your games for, sir? The overwhelming majority of people that play video games don't even watch YouTube videos about them. They buy their games at Walmart, and they get them for Christmas gifts, and they never read anything about them because they're too busy enjoying them. All right, so sit down. If you have two characters in your story, you have politics. And this is the common go-to for people that argue this position. They say, well, it's in everything. It's in everywhere. It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. This is just a weird way of misrepresenting people's position on it. okay, you're free to call everything that. That's fine. But what people have a problem with and what you continue to gloss over is when you use the game as a pulpit, when you push an agenda. This is what people have a problem with. They don't have a problem with the existence of things. Okay, that is misrepresenting. It's just like a certain red-haired individual yesterday that said, I have all these videos that whinge about the existence of women. No, that's just provably false. I don't have a single video in 1,000 videos that complains about the existence of women. And this is another just purposeful mischaracterization. If it's not, allow me to explain to you that it is. The idea of a spotless deity who can create without leaving an impression of their work shows a lack of self-analysis that you'd think would be poisonous to craft. Everything you write includes yourself. It's not journalism, it's fiction. You made it up. Conflating dyadic stories with authors having any interest in responsibility for the message of their work is disingenuous. That's right. You have a moral responsibility to your video game and to the message, allegedly, that it purports. What is the message of John Madden Football 2019? What is the message of MLB The Show? Can you let me know what the actual message is of FIFA? I mean, all these people who are working on these video games, they have a clear moral responsibility to stand up for the message of their video games. It has a message, right? Because there's more than one person in the video game. Video game stories aren't that different from other stories. All stories are about role-playing interactive stories don't get a free pass. In 2019, to be an influential figure and have a BS answer ready when asked about politics is at best fuel to a dangerous fire and at worst a dog whistle to the worst people. This is another common argument used by these people. It's like, well, you're not saying it, but the things that you are saying are bad. So don't say these things. I don't think that anybody believes that having, organic type social situations come up in games is a bad thing. If they do, then they're free to not play that game. They're also allowed to have that opinion. I guess I can only speak for myself, but I feel very strongly that I understand the pulse that is on this kind of pushback, and that is that, again, nobody has a problem with its existence. What people have a problem with is pulpits. People have a problem with you sticking a finger in their face and saying that they're wrong if they don't like it. I have a problem with people telling people what is right or wrong, because as we saw in today's first video, clearly people in the video game industry have no moral compass, and this guy has been completely piled on. If we look at the article that Billy put out, the interview is published. There's a slight post-publishing correction done by Avellone on Twitter, noting that he didn't mean to, quote, condemn. He meant condemn, not condone. So it should read that he doesn't condemn developers who want to do political games. Okay, that's fair. That probably is more so of his perspective. So he gave a very fair answer. He said, hey, you do you, but this is how I view my video games. Even still, his message is read loud and clear. In fact, everything Avellone said is 100% correct. And see, what's happening is people that agree with him that are saying, like, look, games don't have to be bad. Now that there's this narrative, you see the author of this irrelevant article on an irrelevant website saying, I'm not a fan of people calling Chris an idiot over it, but I also find it annoying that the anti-SJW crowd has taking it as him being against diversity in games. No, they haven't. Nobody's saying that. I don't believe that, although I don't consider myself an anti-SJW. I'm just anti-bad ideas. A lot of games today aren't designed to tell compelling stories with interesting characters. They're designed as vehicles for SJW-minded developers to push their propaganda. I don't think all games are like that, okay? But certainly there are plenty of games like that. And also it's things, a lot of the things that happen organically in a game, okay, like maybe in The Last of Us, that seem organic. These two girls that are in a relationship, I don't know if anyone would have cared about it. But what happens is hundreds of articles are written about it that kind of blur the lines. All these articles are written about how stunning and brave it is, and how if you have any problem with it, then you're an idiot or you're all sorts of bad words, and people push back against that. And all of a sudden they have a problem with it. That's how people work. I mean, it's like, it's almost like the people that write these articles have no clue how the human race works. Today, many developers completely remove players of meaningful choices or limit the choices so that the players have to agree with their politics of developers are putting forward. It's a complete opposite of what Avellone is talking about, where in games like Alpha Protocol, you had some very distinct choices to make that completely altered the story and development of certain plot lines. We talk about, everyone seems aghast that Chris Avellone has poopy takes about politics and games. Despite working on numerous very good political games, just maybe take that as a lesson that great men aren't solely responsible for great games. Oh, savage burn. And then you have Joe Castillo, contributor to Rock, Paper, Shotgun, also took issue with it. Not everyone agrees with the sentiment, however. Freelance games writer narrative Chris Avellone believes the stories can be apolitical. And then you have... I'm sorry, where am I missing that? Oh, sorry. Has Chris Avellone played his own game? This is, again, I think Chris is running into the everything is political wackadoodles versus the reality that people are obviously fine with real life scenarios in video games. Okay. Nobody has a problem with that. What people don't like is being told what's right or wrong. I mean, I don't know how to be any more clear. Mechadad. Hey, remember that Knights of the Old Republic 2 scene? The one where Kreia chews you out over giving a homeless man $5 and shows you a vision on how you only increased his suffering? I'm not supposed to say I'm not saying the scene was apolitical. I am saying I'm unsurprised that a writer thinks it was. Again, he's not saying that real life scenarios can't exist. I don't know why so many people willfully misrepresent what he's saying. How stupid could you be? I mean, I guess very stupid. Then you have Jose saying Avallone's prolonged milkshake ducking has been very interesting to watch. So he's saying that people need to throw things at him now. That's interesting. And you see, this article, this tweet out there. Oh, LOL, my God. I don't condone games that make political statements. They should ask questions. Sounds like straight out of the skeptic circles. Anyway, as usual, people who believe things can be apolitical are people who fall into the societal default and are completely unaware of political norms they impose in all their work. I just keep coming back to how incredibly egotistical do you have to be to say that? Well, I guess he was misquoted, or he mistyped, so I won't say he was misquoted. But again, even if he had said, I don't condone it, what's the difference? His statement is still strong. Social medias with managers with pronouns in their profile are also quick to jump in and paint Avallone's comments as being inherently bad, specifically painting Avallone's statement as associated with white males. I like Avellone, but it's a clear blind spot he shares with many other white male writers. No, I don't think so. I think what he's saying, again, is that he would rather work on making a good game than worry about telling people what to think. I don't understand what's so hard to believe or what's hard to understand. And these people just absolutely lost their mind. And I think a lot of it is that they probably saw him as an ally. They probably thought he was, quote, working for them. And when he came out and said, hey, I just make games, dude, like chill. When one of the most prolific and respected writers in the industry is burbling GG level nonsense about keeping games apolitical. The rot runs deep. Incredibly disappointing. These people are always disappointed. And this is a freelance games journalist. Oh, well, so he doesn't have a job. And then it goes on and on. Kotaku in action, outlaid everything, just loads and loads of tweets from people who are completely overreacting. I don't think, again, am I misunderstanding this point of view? I don't think I am. I think if you agree with me, make sure you drop a like on the video. Look, games don't have to be sterile. People don't like when you push an agenda, which is fueled by games journalists telling gamers, if you don't like it, you're uneducated. Or a game industry people like Patrick Sutherland and Battlefield 5. People that don't like us rewriting history are just uneducated. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And then nobody did buy it. Well, a few people obviously bought it, but you get my point. It's about the whole system. It's about, maybe something comes into a game innocuous enough, but then the mainstream narrative becomes about how woke it is and how this is really sticking it to white men. And people don't like that. I don't know what's so hard to understand. I guess maybe you're all dumb. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.